Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I certainly had lots of moments where I was donezo.
Did you
You know?
make any like massive mistakes as a?
Oh, as an apprentice.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
What do you reckon the worst one
Oh
was?
gosh, there was a lot. Well, actually, like, so the guy I ended up doing my apprenticeship with, it was just kind of me and him. It was like the smallest kind of
Just
place he
one
could
man
work.
band
Yeah,
kind of
you
thing.
know. It's funny because I actually learned everything from him.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, he was a terrible boss. Like, terrible. You know, like nowadays, like in hindsight, I should have like sued the pants off him. You know, he just like
What did he do?
he well, half the, like, if I did make a mistake, he would just take it out of my pay or not pay me at all.
Wow, yeah, I don't think that's legal.
Don't think you can do that. Yeah. so you know, there was stuff like that where I was so scared of that happening that it made me actually really careful, really particular and fussy with what I was doing, because I knew that he was the type of guy that was going to potentially not pay me.
The repercussions.
Yeah.
So, made you not slack off.
Oh, and so I just would, you know, like there's that saying, like, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
Well, that really, for me, I did that, but it was like measure like 6 times.
Yeah.
Because like I knew the repercussions of not doing it were huge. And so, and there was loads of things. And he wasn't the only one like that, but I had a couple of pretty psycho bosses that they would just do stuff like one guy was like this Viking, big, huge, burly guy.
Yeah.
And I was just scared to death of him. And he got me building kickboards. That was like the first thing I did.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Like in a kitchen.
Kitchen kickboards.
Yeah.
So sort of like a ladder frame.
Okay.
You'd be nailing them together and stuff. But if I ever skewed a nail, so misfire and it'd shoot out the side, he would just come up to me just completely calm. And when I wasn't ready, just with his hammer, just smash it to pieces in front of me.
Wow.
Like absolute psycho.
Yeah, that's
cool. But you know, I became such a gun with the nail gun.
Yeah.
I didn't skew a nail.
No.
And it's that type of thing where it's a terrible way to learn, but man, I learned real good.
Like baptism by fire.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly,
thing,
exactly.
Yeah,
and
man.
so it only took me a few kind of, you know, there were some other things like I had a whole kitchen once where all the overheads we just finished building and they were all on the floor because it was in the factory. They were all on the floor, and my job was, as the apprentice, was to drill the holes for the handles and screw the handles on, which I did really well, except for the overheads were on the floor, and so I put all the handles on the top of the doors.
Oh, no.
And I just remember my boss coming out, and he just absolutely lost it. Like he was just like, he could not even understand what he was saying.
There's holes in there now.
They were ruined.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Like, it would have cost him, you know, like a small company like that too.
Oh.
It would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I never did that again either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
so those tough lessons, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was definitely some stuff that I learnt the hard way that no one should have to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. The difference is that nowadays it's such the opposite to that it's almost like you're doing a disservice to the apprentice.
Yeah, yeah.
Not you don't want to like hurt them or anything like that, but there's no like repercussions or I don't know. It's just flipped the whole opposite way where you just now have like, well, in my experience, you have so many people that they have no care because they don't need to.
There's no repercussions.
Yeah,
it's
they
so
just
hard
can
to
just
fire someone.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
it's all for like the employee.
And everyone's worried about if you're worried about saying something because it might get interpreted wrong, and then you end up in court. Or
100%.
These sort of things with the fair work.
That's right. Yeah,
which is fair work's great, but I think it's kind of. And not necessarily fair work, but it's the people have kind of interpreted it and gone, oh, well, I don't know where the line is now.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm just going to go 1,000 yards.
Exactly. Who does? All the workplace health and safety stuff's just out of control. Because where I work, it's 99% of it's commercial work. And so, you know, just there's some buildings in the city I've worked in over the years. It's like you've got to have 3 points of contact at all times, all that sort of stuff so you're walking down the stairs and they're constantly checking that you're holding on the handrail and you've got 2 feet on the floor and like it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I get it, but great, the dog's here. I should get rid of it.
No, that's all right.
All right, you just hear it clomping around.
Yeah, you'll be right.
So yeah, that's that. I don't know. I can understand like on one hand like the reasons for all of those things, and the necessity for them, but like you say, it's like all of those things are on steroids because no one knows.
Yeah, I remember when I was a Sparky and my apprenticeship was kind of like half of it was before that all came in.
Yeah.
And I reckon in my third year they brought in all the you had to have a step ladder. Have you seen the platform ladders?
Yes.
Those things are useless.
We had to get rid of all of our ladders and buy platform ladders. Yeah, because and that's only for like working in a room this tall.
Yeah,
you got to have for full.
But you can't get in the ceiling.
Nah. Yeah. And then you see the boys anyway, and they're up on top of the railing of the ladder.
Trying to get in
that's
there.
no good.
Yeah.
So it's gone crazy. But what do you do?
No, I remember my biggest mistake I reckon I ever made as a Sparky, and now I probably wasn't the best apprentice looking back on it. I was pretty rubbish at what I did. It wasn't rubbish, but I just wasn't. I didn't want to be an electrician. I think maybe it was so I didn't really put the time and effort in. Yeah, but we were doing data cabling, and so we did. Like looms of 72 cables through. Yep. And so we did the Queensland Emergency Operations Centre. So that's over at Kedron. Yeah. So it's like the huge Queensland base for all their communications. If you call 000.
Yeah, we do all the desks for them.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, so we did all the data for them.
Oh, right.
When they first built the building. And so if you can imagine, we're pulling in underneath that floor is just thousands and thousands of cables. And so if you pull in a data cable, you've got to kind of write one in a permanent marker, say the number 1. Yep. And then at the other end, write 1 because you've got to know which cable's which. That's right. So we had them all pulled this like hundreds of meters of cable out of these boxes, all ready to go, all coiled up. And I stepped back and knocked over a big, massive tin of paint. No. And so most of it's already in the ceiling. Oh, gosh. But the paint went all over the numbers.
That's a big mistake.
It was
so what'd you do?
This was just before like smoko or lunch, and so everyone's like, you deal with that.
You're done.
So I had to try and get all the paint off it, and we ended up none of the cables we knew the thing, so we had to manually go through like a multimeter at the end and try and find it, and I had to do that in my own time.
Gosh,
and I remember coming home going, I just want to quit.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
I think actually it was only a day after that my like supervisor, he wasn't on the tools, but he kind of pulled me aside and went, either something happens here, like where you get better, or maybe your electrician's not the best for you. But I was like third year, I think, at that time, so I was like, I've only got a year to go. I've just got to get there.
You just got to.
And I did pulled myself into shape a bit. Yeah, but it's like, this is.
Those type of things can help to.
Yeah,
shape you.
Oh, definitely. Better for I never did that again.
No,
never knocked over paint. And like even when I became a tradie, like I would have apprentices, and I'd be like, "Do you not know? Like, you're just aware all the time now."
That's right. Yeah,
and I think, those things do help, but man, it sucked at the time.
Oh, mate, yeah. There's those feelings. I usually always had an apprentice with me on whatever jobs I was on.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of early starts in the city, and sometimes we do like foyer fit outs, wall cladding. And I'll never forget one morning it was like a 4 a.m. start because as soon as the building office hours started, it was like busy. It was like madhouse. You can't be in there. Yeah. And so my job was to do this wall cladding in and around all the lifts, and it was just a real simple thing. And I always knew you don't muck around with lift call buttons. You don't touch them, because
what's a lift? What do you mean lift?
So the button you press to bring the lift down.
Yeah.
But our paneling was going in all around. Yeah, just
control panel off.
There's on all those jobs, they get the lift company out, they undo 3 screws, they pull it back.
Yeah.
But this one day, for whatever reason, I was like, it's one panel.
Just pull it off.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Take the screws off. Of course, I was in like the oldest building in the city. I can't even remember which one, but it was just like I should have known.
Yeah.
And I'm just wiggling that control panel thing off, and I'm like trying to have a look behind to see like what's behind there. And as soon as I had it off enough to see, I immediately knew I'd made a mistake. And there was just like 10,000 wires, you know?
Yeah. Just a rat's nest.
And I remember my apprentice was like, "Oh, wow, man, there's so many wires." And just as he said that, like one of the wires was like,
oh,
and like let go.
off. Yeah.
And everything just like stopped.
Oh.
And he's like, "Oh, the lights have gone in the, you know." And I was like, "Oh, I knew I was in trouble." And so I like sort of tried to just put it back, and it was shut down. So I'm like looking for numbers. I'm ringing companies. It was 4 a.m. It's 4:30. There's no one there.
No one's coming out. Yeah.
And then, so it was like the worst like 2 hours of my life trying to work out what to do.
Yeah.
Then people started getting to work. And as it turns out, there was a few floors of specialist doctors and stuff. And they literally couldn't get up. They couldn't even go through the stairwell for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they were just screaming at me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
they don't take kindly to tradies.
they're like, we've got procedures today. We've got people coming like that. And I tell you, I had never felt that sick.
Mm.
And it was just like an awful sort of helpless feeling. And my apprentice, I knew that I could tell that he knew I was not doing well, because he just stayed quiet and just sort of kept busy. He was moving around doing absolutely nothing, but he was just keeping himself busy so that I wouldn't get bothered by him.
Yeah.
And he actually put a post-it note on one of the lift doors. It just wrote "out of service," just to try to help. So it was just an awful day. And eventually, like we got onto the company and they came, but it was like by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It was a massive fail.
That's brutal.
So I ever since then, it's like any of the boys are going to any jobs like that, I'm like, mate, don't touch the lifts.
Yeah.
Not worth it, you know?
Yeah.
So there's lots of things like that. You learn lessons pretty quick.
Yeah. Last story about trade stuff, and then we can move on. But, do you know Sullivan Nicolaides?
Yes.
Like the blood testing place. We, I don't know if I should say all this stuff, but who knows out there.
You can cut it later.
I don't know. We had the contract for them.
Mm-hmm.
The company I worked for had the maintenance contract.
Yep.
So they had a big lab over at Chiringa.
Yep.
Like where you do a blood test, it goes there and gets put through, and they've got all like dudes looking in microscopes, and as they're like we're doing, they're kind of talking through what they're seeing. And
right.
So anyway, they got these huge machines that have all these all the blood goes through, and I don't know how long it looked like. It took like an hour or something. It's like a big conveyor. Goes through, and there's all blood samples that it goes through. One of the guys there from our company, we'd been working there for years, right? Yeah. He decides, I'm going to have to turn the main switchboard off, but it's going to go on to generator. So it's like, great, it's fine. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. It happens all the time, right? What he didn't check, though, was if the generator had fuel.
No.
But what he did is so the main switchboard, but then the generator's like a while ago away. So you don't even know if it started, but it's meant to automatically start, right? Yeah. So he flicked the main switch off. Great. He didn't go inside to see if any lights had come back on or whatever, and then just started pulling apart the switchboard.
Just trusting. No.
But what had happened is he literally shut down this whole lab.
Good grief.
All power's gone.
Yeah.
The machines
panic mode
halfway
inside.
through. There's blood. People are talking into their microscopes, and it's now gone pitch black. And the recordings have all stopped.
Oh, no.
But then when people came out and started screaming at him, he realized one of the pieces that I've pulled, like parts I've pulled out of the board, as I'm pulling it out because the generator's on, I've just broken that piece. And he's waiting for the apprentice to bring him, like from the wholesaler, that piece. So their lab was down for like 2 hours.
Good grief.
And
that would be some money.
Oh, yeah. But apparently like most of the blood samples, a lot of them were ruined.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. We never really spoke about it, but I don't know how our company kept going after that.
Yeah. I imagine there would have been some conversations, though.
But we continued, from what I remember, though, we continued to have the contract. So maybe
it was
like
too hard to
our
get someone
bosses
else.
had something over there or something. I don't know.
Far out.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that'd be a story that he has.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. He was a crazy fella. So I don't know where he would be right now, to be honest.
Mate, you could write novels, couldn't you? Like, even just the people that I work with, combined stories, there'd be volumes and volumes. There's just, it's endless. It's endless. Everyone makes mistakes.